Hello and welcome to our weekly podcast. This is your host, Anne-Marie Rose, together with Nettie Chow, Jin Young Park, and Jae Bum Im. We are your presenters for today. Our topic for the day today is cell phones. Should they be banned in all classrooms from elementary to high school? We believe that they should be. To begin with, we'd like to say that cell phones cause distractions in class. According to the Pew Research Center, 95% of all teens currently have access to or own a smartphone, and 45% are online almost constantly. This causes teachers to struggle getting students to pay attention to the lesson in class or focus on the task at hand. We talked with Mrs. Smith, who teaches 10th and 11th grade English, and she states, "I have a cell phone holder on the wall near the whiteboard. I would require students to place their cell phones there in the beginning of class, and most students would comply. However, some students still keep their cell phones and sneak them when they think I am not looking or are distracted. They don't realize I catch them every time. But it isn't always worth my time and effort to stop class and reprimand them. So instead, I have started awarding classroom points that I will add as a participation grade when a student places their phone in the holder. It isn't perfect because some students aren't as concerned about losing those points, but it has helped. Sometimes I allow students to use their phones to look up information, but they always end up getting distracted and not doing the work." While some schools allow teachers to confiscate phones they see being used during class, our district does not allow that. Some other districts have gone to extremes and have required a magnetic pouch called a yonder to lock up cell phones for the day. Students keep the phone with them, but they cannot access their phone until the end of the day. One school reported a decrease in referrals for defiance and respect, reports Allison Silvestri, the former principal of San Lorenzo High School, east of San Francisco. Being distracted, even if it is for a flash to check the time or check for a text message or missed call, results in decreased attention and focus. All of those little moments add up. Plus, being less distracted allows for greater connections with others in class. We spoke with 12th grader Ainsley, who says,
"I used to look at my phone when I felt nervous or awkward, or if I was unsure of an answer in class, but then I would get distracted and start looking at something else, or I'd see a Snapchat come through and click over to watch it. I missed something the teacher said at that point, and that made me feel worse. Plus, I wasn't talking to my classmates as much because I was busy texting my friends. So I also missed what they were saying, especially in a group work."
Restricting access can lead to missed calls or texts from an employer or parent or family member, some students claim. Plus, we asked a class of senior physics students about how distracted they are having access to their phones in class, and they unanimously claimed that it became useless and boring to access your phone all day as they got older. In their freshman year, they were immature. But as they have matured and realized how annoying constant updates and notifications are, every one of the 23 students in the class stated they keep their cell phones in their backpacks all period now and only check them at the beginning or end of class. They say there isn't anything that important that it cannot wait for 42 minutes. Cell phones are harmful to developing kids' brains and social interactions. Having your cell phone constantly accessible not only increases anxiety and feelings of depression, but it can be similar to an addiction, says Dr. Brown, school counselor and psychologist. They echo the sentiment of Dr. Brown in stating the feelings of addiction to cell phones, but even more concerning is the effects on the developing brain. JANA Partners and the California State Teachers Retirement System, who own major stock in Apple, cited research and studies performed to state that cell phone usage is harming kids. Partners on the CSTRs stated in their complaint letter to Apple that other research found that young people who were addicted to their cell phones showed an imbalance in brain chemicals. These chemicals were related to poor sleep and poor behavior. Jim Steyer, the chief executive of Common Sense Media, says that Americans are discovering the extent to which fake news, online harassment, and other troubling problems have affected their personal lives and workplaces, as was recorded by the Washington Post. This affects children as well as adults. We spoke to Bryn, a 9th grader, who says, "I was bullied last year in 8th grade. It was awful. They were making up stories about me that weren't true, and my friends stopped talking to me. I got beat up in the girls' bathroom during lunch, and I lost a tooth and got many bruises. I had to move to a different school than all the friends I grew up with, and now I'm at a different high school too. My parents took away my cell phone, but I'm still making friends. My friends all understand, and we still have fun without our phones. They are so much nicer to me." We spoke with Mrs. Blum, a math teacher, who also has 4 children, all in middle and high school. She states,
I see it in my own kids at home as well. When I found out they were staying up all night on their cell phones, interacting with their friends and not getting any sleep, I had to put a quick stop to that. They would not wake up when it was time to go to school, or they would complain about not feeling well because they didn't get enough sleep. We tried letting them have their phones at night on the weekends, but they were still staying up too late. This made them miss things all weekend long and made them, and us, cranky. I noticed their grades started slipping when they got their phones. We have twins in 9th grade, and their grades started to get much worse until we started physically taking their phones an hour before bedtime. Now they are doing much better.
The constant notifications and fear of missing out causes children to constantly check their phones. But it seems it is also a boredom killer. Rather than getting outside or being active, children are glued to their phones. Stephen Balcom, the chief executive of the Family Online Safety Institute, cautions parents and teachers by saying, "It is important to be careful using the word addiction to describe the overuse of the devices," he tells the Washington Post. He goes on to say that the medical profession has not declared this to be an addiction. Certainly, the products and apps are very compelling in terms of increasing usage and feelings of not missing out. Yes, there's behavior you could describe as obsessive, both for kids and adults. But to describe it as an addiction is, quite frankly, it crosses a line. Phones should be allowed in the classroom and schools because it prepares students for being an adult, other groups have argued. The support for allowing phones in school has also been linked to an argument that states that, well, if adults do not give up their cell phones at work or basically anywhere else, says business teacher Ms. Board, why should we expect students? A sentiment echoed by Lisa Highfill, an instructional technology coach at the Pleasanton Unified Public and Secondary School District in Pleasanton, California. She believes letting students have phones helps them prepare for higher education and eventually the workplace. Teach students how to refocus, how to take care of something that is really nagging at them, and then move on and put it away. Self-monitoring is a lifelong skill that we have an opportunity to integrate into our lessons. Liz Klein, Vice President for Education at Common Sense Education in the San Francisco Bay Area, a group whose mission is to help kids thrive in a world of media and technology, says that students use technology to make movies or study photography, for example. Klein also points out that in some lower income areas where there's concern surrounding the digital divide, the school might offer the kind of speedy internet access that is not available at home, thus allowing students to learn, research, and access homework and schoolwork while still at school. Mr. Stone, a global studies teacher, says,
I assign work to be done on Google Classroom. It would work better if students use a Chromebook in school or go to the library to use a desktop. But lacking access to either of those, a cell phone would be just as helpful to complete that work while having access to the high-speed internet here at the school.
Restricting access also makes students more sneaky in their usage of cell phones. Klein says students will put their cases and not the phones in the cell phone holders in class. And they find workarounds to accessing restricted sites like Snapchat and TikTok. Students have even found ways to hack into the electronic system of the Yonder so they can access their phones. Principal Rose has stated,
I've seen an increase in students bringing in broken phones to school and using them as decoys while they keep their work phones in the backpacks and even their lunchboxes. Students are allowed to eat during classes so the teacher doesn't think to check their lunchbox while the student is eating.
On either side of this debate, there are pros and cons. Parents, teachers, and students need to learn the limits and understand when cell phone usage is a problem. Everyone agrees that they should be stowed away during tests, but that's the only time everyone can agree. The debate rages on. We invite you to begin your own discussion of how much of a distraction is your cell phone. This has been Anne-Marie Rose, Nettie Chow, Jin Young Park, and Jae Bum Im, your presenters for today's podcast. We hope you enjoyed our debate. Tune in next week when we discuss whether or not the wage paid to high school students is fair and equitable.